So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْهَا قَالَتْ رَبِّ إِنِّي وَضَعْتُهَا أُنْثَى. So when she gave birth to her, she said, "Oh my Lord, indeed, I have given birth to an untha. I've given birth to a child, a female." So then Allah mentions, "Allahu a'lamu wallahu a'lamu bima wada'at." And Allah is more knowledgeable concerning that, or Allah knows best concerning that which she gave birth to. So then she continues, وَإِنِّي سَمَّيْتُهَا مَرْيَمْ وَإِنِّي أُعِيذُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. She mentions that indeed I have named her Maryam. And indeed I make the isti'adah with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, protecting her child and the offspring of her child. So she made that isti'anah for her child and for her child's offspring. Something likewise, ikhwan, all of the affairs that we find here, we find, ikhwan, all of them being prescribed from our sharia, all of the affairs that she entered upon after the birth of her child, we find them likewise being established in our sharia, and likewise highlighting that the mother of Maryam was an individual who was upon ilm. That she mentioned, وَإِنِّي سَمَّيْتُهَا مَرْيَمْ. That indeed I have named her Maryam. And without doubt, we know it is prescribed and permissible to give the child or to name one's child on the day of its birth. It is permissible, as the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam did with Ibrahim and so on. That the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he had his child, that he named that child on the day of his birth, and as occurs in an authentic hadith, that indeed I had a child tonight, and I have named him Ibrahim. So it is prescribed likewise on the day of birth, permissible to name that child. And here we find the mother of Maryam naming Maryam, which highlights the fact that she was upon ilm and basirah in regards to the sharia. Likewise, ikhwan, from the huquq and the rights of our children is that we give them righteous and noble names. That we give them names that are upright. Names that revolve around good and around khair. And concerning Maryam, some of the scholars of tafsir have mentioned that Maryam in their lugha and in their language carried the meaning abida. The same meaning as the term abida. A woman who is established upon ibadah. A woman of ibadah. That Maryam in that lugha carried the meanings of abida. A woman who is strong and who is upon ibadah. So here we find the mother of Maryam naming her child and giving her a noble, upright, good name. Giving her the name Maryam. And likewise we find her making the isti'adah for her child. وَإِنِّي أُعِيذُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. And verily, I am making the isti'adah with you. And for her, with you for her, and for her offspring from the shaitan al-rajim. And as occurs in authentic hadith, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned that indeed there is not one of those who are given birth except that he is touched by the shaitan, and because of that he screams or he lets out a cry, except for Maryam and her son. Except for Maryam and her son. So here we find the dua of the mother of Maryam being accepted for Maryam and for the son of Maryam, Isa ibn Maryam. فَإِنِّي وَضَعْتُ نعم. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, وَإِنِّي أُعِيذُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ فَتَقَبَّلَهَا رَبُّهَا بِقَبُولٍ حَسَنًا وَأَنْبَتَهَا نَبَاتًا حَسَنًا وَكَفَّلَهَا زَكَرِيَّا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted that from her with a good acceptance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after she made her dua, after she held on to the means, after she had tawakkul ala Allah, after she made that oath, turned to Allah, beseeched Allah, acted upon her ilm, we find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepting from her that act and accepting from her that deed. But analyze, ikhwan, with the likes of this mother, analyze the type of daughter that she gave birth to. Analyze how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered the dua of Maryam, of Hannah. Analyze how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed her with Maryam. Analyze Maryam, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us of her, that Allah mentions فَلَمَّا دَخَلَتْ عَلَيْهَا زَكَرِيَّا الْمِحْرَابِ وَجَدَ عِنْدَهَا رِزْقًا. So when Zakaria entered upon her, would enter upon Maryam, because Zakaria was the one who took care of nurturing Maryam. So when Zakaria would enter upon her, وَجَدَ عِنْدَهَا رِزْقًا, he would find with her food. قالت مريم أن لك هذا. So he said, Maryam, where have you got this food from? And as occurs in some of the statements of the Mufassirun, that Zakaria would enter upon her and find with her fruits that were not in season. So figs, for instance, when it was not fig season, grapes when it was not the season for grapes, and so on. قالت مريم أن لك هذا. قالت جزاك الله خير. قال يا مريم أن لك هذا. قالت هو من عند الله. So he said, oh Maryam, where have you gotten this from? So she said, هو من عند الله. Indeed it is from Allah. إن الله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. Indeed Allah bestows upon whosoever He wills بغير حساب. Look at the offsprings of Hannah. Look at the offsprings, Ikhwan. Look at the offspring of the one who was that righteous woman, upright, salihah, alimah, basira with her deen, having clear-sightedness concerning her religion. Look at the type of daughter that she nurtures. One who is connected to Allah, one who relies upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and one who the likes of those miracles take place in regards to. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would bless her with food and would bless her with rizq, the likes of which would amaze Zakaria, who was her wali at that time. So she mentions, likewise Maryam mentions, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَرْزُقُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. So Maryam likewise being acquainted with the asma'i wa sifat of Allah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَرْزُقُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. That indeed Allah gives rizq to whosoever He wills, بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the rizq and provision to whosoever He wills without hisab, yani without bound and without boundaries. So in that regard, ikhwan, we see likewise that Maryam being nurtured and coming from and having that type of mother and being nurtured in that type of household, we find her being the abida who used to spend time worshipping, and upon ibadah, and upon ilm likewise, and upon basira with the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just as her mother was. So we say therefore, ayyuhal ikhwah, that which is wajib upon the Muslimat, wajib upon the women, is first and foremost that they acquire ilm, that they grill themselves, and that they equip with themselves with the ilm shari, and that they do not be like those women who couldn't care less about increasing and improving themselves as it relates to ilm, couldn't care less about the issues of the religion other than that which is related to her rights over her husband, and that which is related to what she can do and what she can't do as it relates to her marriage. Rather, ikhwan, the type of woman that this da'wah to Salafiyya breeds is a woman who is upright, a woman who is basira in the whole of the deen, and has love for the whole of the deen, not only for the affairs that are relevant to her rights and relevant to that which revolves around whether she's being oppressed or whether she's getting a good bargain or the good end of the deal. Rather, ikhwan, what we want from our sisters is that they are alimat, talibatu ilmin, women who are upon ilm and basira with the deen of Allah. And that ilm and that basira begins, ikhwan, with the study of the Aqidah al-Islamiyya, with the study of the usul, studying the affairs of the Sunnah, studying that which revolves around the fundamental issues, studying the likes of those books that our scholars have advised us with, the usul al-thalatha of Shaykh al-Mujaddid, al-Imam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, rahimahullah ta'ala, studying the likes of the Qawaid al-Arba'a, the four fundamentals or the four principles Likewise, of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, studying the likes of Kashf al-Shubuhat and Kitab al-Tawheed, studying those books in fiqh, yani those books that they are able to study, Manhaj al-Salikeen, and others from the books, yani Al-Umda, Al-Udda, and others from the books that they are able to study, the likes of Ad-Durar Al-Bahiyya, Umdatul Ahkam, and those books that will give the woman and give any Muslim basira in the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal.